I often get asked, what's my background? Where did I come from? And I thought it would be interesting, or my team thought it would be interesting to share my story. And so it's the warts and all story of kind of how I got here. I think the team and I, we're really proud. I think we've pulled off something pretty remarkable in the current market. But none of it was guaranteed. And in many ways, it shouldn't have happened. I mean, some of it's a lot of luck, right? And if you think about my own personal story, it isn't one that was destined to kind of land in this place without being big-headed. I grew up in South London. I grew up on a council estate called the Farrow Estate. If you Google that, it's not particularly the best place in London to live. I come from a single-parent family and saw that my mum worked, extremely hard to raise two children. I went to a decent school, decent public school. I got to university. I had some brilliant lecturers that really kind of helped me grow as an individual and as a person, and graduated with a degree in computer science. But then it was a story of luck, right? I during that process, I bumped into someone completely randomly who needed some help, and they turned out to be an amazing influence on my life. They were one of the first people of color working for American Express. They took an interest in me, started coaching me, and actually exposed me to the world of finance and exposed me to what working for an investment bank would mean. And so I was introduced to Morgan Stanley, and I got a job on the graduate program and started work as an application developer. But I think coming from the background I had, people kind of recognized that, while I wasn't the best developer in the world, I had a pretty strong set of skills around personal kind of relationship building. And so after 2 or 3, 4 years doing that role, I took another opportunity. And I think I made it my goal to always take the hard, messy problems. And my one piece of advice I give for new graduates is always pick the jobs that give you hard, messy problems to solve. And if you solve those problems, that's really where growth happens. And so I took a job at maybe 28, 29. I had a team of 25, 30 people, and I solved some really big internal challenges at Morgan Stanley from an application development perspective. And very quickly after that, someone realized that, I probably had a little bit of potential about me, and Morgan Stanley is a wonderful place for that. And I was asked to relocate to Saudi Arabia. Now, I had no idea really where Riyadh was. When I look back now, I was very excited. I called my parents and I was like, hey, guess what? I'm going to move to Riyadh. And I thought it was actually by the beach at the time. And it was only, somewhat as I was landing into Riyadh to build Morgan Stanley's investment bank that I realized it was in the middle of the desert. And I had an amazing, 2.5 years there, really learning what it meant to build a business. And we built a full-service investment bank, and I got exposed to phenomenal talent that completely transformed my outlook on what it meant to be a professional. And so after that role for 2 years, I was asked by Morgan Stanley if I would like to relocate and take a role in Hungary, in Budapest. I did know where that was. And so I took the job, I landed in Budapest, and over the course of the next 4 years, I built a huge technology division. And again, it was a very different skill. Saudi was really about, very quick turning around a problem solution. And you learned very quickly to get a lot of satisfaction from solving point problems quickly and progressing a business quickly. But when you're building a center, as we did in Budapest, you really have to focus on what it means to build a sustainable, well-oiled organization. And that doesn't happen in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. That's a sustained effort over time. How do you build the right culture? How do you make sure the work type quality is appropriate? How do you engender belief in the broader mission of what you're doing. And they're all skills at 33, 34 I just didn't have. So it was a huge opportunity for me to grow and build something that even to this day I'm super proud of. While I was there, I decided to do my MBA. I picked up my MBA where I focused on entrepreneurship, and that was really a passion of mine, which is I really would like to build something, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to take material risk. My background was not risk-based. I was very much focused on growing up and making sure that all the basics existed. And so it was very, very hard for me, and credit to my then wife, who's now my wife still, but my wife, who was really supportive of me taking a journey towards something that I really wanted to do. And so while at Morgan Stanley, I decided to build a company called Yummy Mummy. Brilliant name, brilliant brand, terrible idea. We were trying to build something with a small group of people as part of my MBA program that was around baby food and taste and texture education. And so we kind of did well after that. I pushed it forward. We looked at a distribution deal in the US, but I just didn't know what it meant to really build a company and what it meant to raise capital, even though I was working for clearly one of the best investment banks in the world. So that didn't work out. That's good. It didn't. I don't know I'm the best advocate of baby food. It wasn't necessarily my passion. But I was then asked to relocate to New York, where I was working again for Morgan Stanley, initially doing some strategy work that was super interesting. And then secondly, picking up some work around fintech for Morgan Stanley. And again, really great experience. And not that I'm making an advertisement for Morgan Stanley, but there's real value in actually the experience you pick up from working from a big corporate. And that was certainly my experience. So what I found in that process was, as we looked at what we were doing with our technology, how we were thinking about fintech, I was exposed to some really great founders. And the more I spent time speaking to founders, the more I believed that my future was sitting on the other side of the table. And so after 3 or 4 years, where I learned a huge number of skills at Morgan Stanley, I decided to leave that stability. I'd been there 15 and a half, 16 years. And I decided to take a role as a CEO in a consumer finance company. And over the course of, I think, 2 years, we transformed that business into a buy now, pay later company, headquartered in Luxembourg, where I relocated. And I credit my wife again. There we were living in New York, and I come home and I said, look, I've got this job. I think it's a great opportunity. And we're going to relocate our 2 kids to the hotbed of excitement in Luxembourg. And she was hugely supportive. And I think of her even today with Bloom as my co-founder. And we relocated and took the family there. And that was a great experience too. Really great team. We transformed the business. But ultimately, after a couple of years, I decided to start my own journey, the journey of Bloom. So it's not particularly an exciting story. It's not particularly one full of success or failure. But the key point here is sometimes you don't quite know what you're building in your career. And sometimes the path is kind of zigzagged. And so whatever path you're on, take the risk, follow your dreams, and you can achieve whatever you want if you try. And I think that's very much the story of Bloom, and why one of our values is never settle, don't give up. Because I think if we had, during the process of raising capital, none of us would be here today.